So I'd like to welcome you to the new now High-End Highness Wow Factor Evolution. I am Majesty AliNICOLE Wow. So in this segment, I want to speak with you about getting used to a new used to as it relates to your high-end work. And for some of you, this is new in terms of just high-end experience. And for those of you who have been doing the high-end work for quite some time, sometimes it's time for you to actually get used to a new used to as it relates to how you do that. So before I start just talking about kind of the new now high-end way, if you will, because that way is going to be unique to you. I want to talk about just new used tos in general. So there are things or areas that you've experienced throughout your life where you were used to doing things a certain way and a shift had to occur. You had to get used to a new used to. And so even just thinking about this, just those of you who have children, that when you were whether single, you were newly married or so, and you hadn't had kids yet. And so you're used to life being a certain way. But then once the baby is born, or even before the baby is born, or you start having children, you're having to make adjustments and starting to already get used to a new used to, preparing for that. And then once that experience is fully there and the baby is born, then that is a getting used to, a new used to. Making career shifts sometimes is that's getting used to a new used to. Moving to a new town, a new city, or even if it's not a new town, a new city, just into a new house, you have to get used to the new used to within that type of experience, even if you've moved tons of times and you're used to that, but you still get used to a new used to in being in a place that you are not accustomed to or used to being in. So high-end work in the new context is the same way. But what most of you will start to get used to is more of your own customized, unique experiences coming out from your evolution. That's why it's hard for most to follow anybody's system, anybody's cookie cutter templates, and base things off of the results of certain gurus, because you're here for the more expanded experience, which a lot of times takes longer, or at least it seems it does, for you to actually come into what I know to be true, more pioneer types of templates, things that haven't been done before. And you're finding and discovering your own unique way of how to be a brand expression in the marketplace, but being able to leverage this in a very unique high-end type of expression. And so since I'm bringing up expression, let me talk a little bit about that, because actually that's a term that I've coined, is brand expression. And I have works around that, programs, and I'll actually include in the description even a VIP workspace intensive publication that I have that's around the new high-end branding zone effect. And that is all about the brand expression. And I've got tons of publications around the brand expression and how you go about creating that, even from just your personal and professional branding aspect, but actually your empire's branding, your empire's expression as well. I get to talking, I never know what I'm going to really talk about until I actually come on. I'll have a thought and then it hits me that, okay, I need to share about this, but I don't ever have something before me tentatively, like a plan or outline or anything like that. So I'm just, sharing of what that now potential needs to be expressed in terms of just me sharing and rendering. And if I break off into a teaching and training or so, then that happens. But I like really just talking, I'm more of a demonstrator, but of course I can't really do much of that in terms of the format of what I'm using at this point to communicate to you. So just kind of setting you up. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the brand expression aspect. And that's another thing. That's another use to. People have to get used to being in the expressive mode, then the traditional branding formats, the traditional modes. So the whole goal of me talking about getting used to new use tos is because when you're shifting into doing more of the high-end work, and again, not so much in a traditional way, that is an adjustment period for that. And some of you are familiar with my concept of high-end-i-tizing and how that is a process that helps to lean people more into the high-end way or the new high-end way, but leveraging even some of their older thoughts around high-end and starting to create some different momentum by them leveling up and high-end-itizing a current offer opportunity that they have, so that as they're segueing into this newer format, then there's the balance in terms of their impact and income, So that's a whole nother topic too. But so let me come back to, again, talking about getting used to new use tos. So within the new now high-end experience, or that way, if you will, and some of you have heard me talk about this, how it's the higher and lighter and more efficient way, but it's actually the higher, the more lucrative, higher and lighter type of experience, where the structures that are created and the opportunities for this experience are not ones that are going to have you constantly working in or on your business a certain way, because you'll be in your business for sure, but the way that you're in your business in a beingness way is completely different in how you're serving. So I want you to just imagine for a moment that you've landed a big catch client, and this is in a retainer model type of experience. And so you have a client who's retained you for, let's say, the next year or next 2 years, and you have a certain level of work that you are intentionally doing with this client, and you aren't really interested in taking on more clients of this nature because of what it is and what it requires for you to put in. Not from like a time perspective, like having to be with this client so much. In fact, you may not actually be with that client a whole lot, because within a few VIP day experiences, or however the customized package is, you are providing something for them, and maybe it sets them up for quite some time, and they don't actually need to be meeting with you every week, but they're retaining you should they need you. And if you need to jump on a call with them or do something, there would be an agreement, obviously. But whatever that higher level work is that you're going to be doing, it's not going to be something that a great majority of people are going to be ready for. So that's where you can charge a higher price for sure. And then when the person who retains you knows that you only take on 1 or 2 clients in this particular area, then they know, whoa, if I want you, I definitely have to not just secure you at a certain price, but yeah, whatever the fees are or the agreement, is, uh, that's something you have to work out. But again, it won't require you to really be doing a whole lot in your business. And then a lot of you I know are familiar with VIP days, and I love VIP intensive types of models. I actually have offerings and programs and things specifically around creating that type of experience. And I actually have some free trainings I'll put below, for you to be able to avail yourself to those trainings. But going back to thinking about just having that one client, and then you're secure, you're booked with that, and that's where you want to put your higher end energy in, even if it's once a month with that, particular client. But then you're like, well, what else do I do in the meantime? Because I'm not just going to have just that one client, even if it is a six-figure client or $1 million client or whatever, you still want to be serving and making an impact and even more income. So that's where VIP intensives come in. So let me paint another picture for you and invite you to imagine that, yes, you've got that one retainer model client, and maybe a second one too, that you're doing maybe a shorter version, maybe for a year, 9 months to a year, and not the 2 years, okay? And you have tweaked your opportunity specifically for that. So you got those two for quite some time, and so you're not interested in enrolling other people. Maybe you do have a waiting list, but things that you want to do to continue to add value is, so let's say that you're hosting or you're facilitating a few VIP day weekends, intensives. So you can do that in mastermind cohort type of experience, or even if it's just with one particular person and you're charging platinum types of rates for that type of experience, because they're getting a very accelerated experience, which in that case, they are paying for the acceleration and the intensity in terms of what that particular experience, will offer to them. So whether you're doing a training with them or it is a customized type of experience. So yeah, and then if you're charging nice rates for just that weekend, then again, 1 weekend, 2 weekends a month, and meeting with a particular client once, a month, or a few times every 90 days or so, again, because we're talking about the retainer model, and you've already set them up for what their actions are for the next 3 to 6 months. However, the process is, you just don't have to do a lot of following up with them, but you do check-ins. So that even with me saying that, that's a very different type of understanding for most. And thinking, wait, whoa, so you mean I don't have to be doing something in my business every single day? And because I'm charging more, I don't have to necessarily give more and can do less even with those prices. Absolutely. Because the less sometimes is best. The moreness can sometimes oversaturate the process, drown out the potential that wants to come forth in being able to do some things that are very simplistic and not overloading people. And you can give your clients a simple plan, a very simple plan that they continue to execute. And yes, can you check in on them? And of course, in the retainer model aspect, you have it where there's unlimited emails or within your agreement. However, they know it's a healthy relationship, I should say, a healthy relationship. So yeah, so just think about that. Okay, you already booked with your clients, one for this year and one that's already booked for the next 2 years. You're in contract with them, and then you're doing a VIP day or two, $5,000 to $10,000, a weekend for 2 weekends, or even if it's a more on the lower end, even $997 VIP half day, and maybe a 2,500 to to 4,500 type of experience of 5,000. So Yeah, so if you're just doing a few of those, do you already see and sense and feel how light that is? That there's not, you got to constantly be doing something. And then if you have lower hanging fruit um, offers like publications and audios, then you can put that into some type of cohesive experience to be more of an evergreen syndicated um, opportunity. And you can land big catches with that particular opportunity. And yeah, but already do you sense and see how that's a much more lighter experience? You don't have to be marketing continuously. You don't have to be constantly doing something in social media unless that's what you choose to do. But you know, your business will not rely on you being busy. It will rely more or thrive, I should say, in terms of the way that you expand yourself and have that freedom and flexibility while serving at a new level. So for some of you, again, you're not used to those types of structures. So it will take some getting used to the new used to of you're not working more, you're not working harder. And then if you find yourself having to do quite a bit, it typically is in a certain season where you're doing more of your work up front in that particular season so that other seasons of the experience, it's not going to require you to be in that grind or in that type of activity. So I could talk about this for days, but I'm gonna conclude, if you will, and just provide the empowerment just in terms of you starting to really think or expanding awareness around what you already know about what I've been talking about. And yeah, just allowing yourself to embrace the new and then get used to a new used to. You're not used to charging a certain amount, get used to charging. And there's ways that you can level up as you price up. And that's a whole nother training that I do. And I'll do a segment, around that, as well. All right, so I'm gonna leave it here because y'all know I can be generous with the expression of wanting you to be expanded and to really start thinking in new ways in terms of high-end experience, because it is a new now within this experience. And as I've been sharing more recently, all of what I'm sharing with you, it is very basic and foundational. And so I am leveraging some of the traditional concepts in a sense, but bringing them into an evolutionary vibration and then allowing you to start to bridge the gap, if you will, transition trajectories into this new experience. All right, so have a great day, and I look forward to sharing more and being back with you soon.